introduction helps everyone feel safe with a positive live chat experience for you and your viewers. Choose who can participate. Suddenly, with your messages, hide or put people in timeout. And manage messages, help for reviews, add reviews sa
Tago mo lang yan.
chat, and so on and so forth.
Tago mo, mami.
Hindi na ulit tayo nag-live.
Mama ko, mami.
Okay.
Please.
Give me the baso. So for today's video, hindi na ulit ako magla-live. And to use this YouTube account of mine for such a very, very long time.
Mami, tago mo.
Okay, so Roto.
Ano, tago mo?
Mamaya na, please.
Mami.
Okay.
Sino ko nga? Ano mo yan? Sige.
Hindi madumi, I already takip it. So guys, for today's video, I have been addicted to this anime. And I didn't know that it was, for the first starter, that it come from a novel. Something like that. Light novel into the web novel or whatever. How does it goes? So the name of this anime that I have been hooked into for the past few days, weeks, is the name of it, The Apothecary Diaries. So now I am going to read the first volume episode in the light novel. I just got the link from Facebook. I don't know. I just saw this because I don't know where to read it. So come with me. Let's watch again. Watch together. Hear me out. Whatever I'm gonna read or how I'm gonna read this. The Apothecary Diaries. I don't know if I pronounce it correct or not. And it is written and illustrated. The author is Natsu Hyuuga. No, I'm correct. And then the illustrator is Tokoshino. So let's start. So let's go for the introduction. She's on the case. It was a simple story of a young girl, a food taster, test. Bisa pa lang, nagkakagulo ng kaluluwa ko. Taster in a medieval palace who could have solved the most perplexing mystery against the bracing backdrop. My heroine, a woman wala nang Phineas and Ferb. Bukas na ulit. It's already morning na. You should have sleeping. What are you doing? Mommy is reading. Ayan, kay Daddy yan. I'm gonna be back. Can you back to the story? Ayan. Yun, ito kasi yan. How can I go sa back? Ayan, uy, huwag mo na anuhin. Ay, medyo harang-harang sa ate girl. Kaya stupid this too. Ngayon na tayo uli nagbabalik sa YouTube. Yan. Baby! Papakita natin. Yan. Okay, guys. Please, baby girl. I'm gonna give you the iPad. Go there. Sira na. But it's already sira. Dito pa lang ako nagbabasa kanina. Yan. So this one is the first thing. The Apothecary Diaries. Introduction. She's on the case. It was a simple story of a young girl, a food taster in a medieval palace who could have solved the most perplexing mysteries. Against that bracing backdrop, my heroine, a woman who could have be as outwardly prickly as she was inwardly sweet, turned out to be well received. It's been 2 years now since the trade volumes went on sale, and by popular demand, the story is now being reissued in mass market paperback format. This new version have been much revised from the trade releases, hopefully in ways that will make them even more exciting and suspenseful. In fact, I dare say I think the new name is about to be added to the annal of the great light novel detectives. I hope you'll find our Anowin's Mamaw deductions and discoveries thrilling and surprising. So, shall we start reading? Ang gulo naman kasi ng baby girl na yan. So, yan. Binabasa ko lang siya. So, help me out, guys. Ayusin natin yung buhay natin. Fix our life, ganun. Ayan. It is my unbelievable setup. Medyo malabo. Ayusin natin yan. Ayusin natin. Kasi medyo magulo. Huwag mo yung baby oil. Yun yung pencil and pen. Sulat.
No!
Wala palang iPad. Di ba nasira na iPad mo? Pinaayos ni Daddy.
Ano kuya iPad?
Wala nga rin yung kay Kuya na kay Daddy.
Ano?
Let's go. Let's start it. May mga scenes na walang scenes. Ano ba yan? So, dito tayo sa table of contents nito. Yan. The first one, it's chapter 1 for Mama. It has 31 chapters with the epilogue. Chapter 1 is for Mama. Chapter 1, Mama. So, please bear with me if I read it not right, because I am not really good at pronouncing, but okay. Dear self, this is your diary. Okay. Chapter 1, Mau Mau. What I wouldn't give for some good street stall with skewers. Mau Mau looked up at the overcast sky and sighed. She lived in a world that was at once a place of unparalleled sparkling beauty and noxious, foul, suffocating cage. 3 months already. Hope my old man's eating properly. It seems just the other day she had gone into the woods to gather herbs, and there had met 3 kidnappers. Let us all call them villagers 1, 2, and 3. They were after women for the royal palace, and in a word, they offered the world's most forceful and unpleasant marriage proposal. Now, it wasn't that she wouldn't be paid, and with a couple years' work, there was that glimmer of hope that she might even be able to come back to her hometown. There were worse ways to earn a living. If one went to the royal city of one's own accord, but Mau Mau, who had been making her way just fine as an apothecary, thank you very much, saw it solely as so much trouble. What did the kidnappers do with the newborn young woman they captured? Sometimes they sold the girls to the eunuchs, putting proceeds towards the night of drinking for themselves. Sometimes the young ladies were offered in lieu of someone's own daughter. To Mau Mau, it was a moot question, for now she found herself caught up in their schemes, regardless of the reason. Else, she would never in her life have wished to have anything to do with the Hugong, the rear palace, the residence of the imperial woman. The palace was so thick with the odors of makeup and perfume as to turn the stomach, and even more full of the thin forced smiles of the court ladies in their beautiful dresses. In her time as an apothecary, Mau Mau had come to believe there was no toxin so terrifying as a woman's smile. That one ruled held true whether in the halls of the most ornate palace or the squalid chambers of the cheapest pleasure house. Mau Mau hefted the laundry basket at her feet and headed into a nearby building. Unlike the dazzling front facade, the dreary central courtyard housed flagstone paved washing areas, where the court's servants, people who were quiet man nor quiet woman did laundry by the armload. Men, in principle, were not allowed in the rear palace. Only men who could enter were either members and blood relations of that most noble family in the country, or former men who had lost a very important part of themselves. Naturally, all the men Mau Mau was looking at right now were the latter. It was twisted, she thought, but admittedly a logical thing to do. She set down her basket and spotted another one sitting in the next building over. Not dirty clothes, but clean laundry that had dried in the sun. She glanced at the wooden tag dangling from the handle. It bore an illustration of a leaf along with a number. Not all of the palace women were literate. It wasn't that surprising. Some of them had been brought here by force, after all. And though the rudiments of etiquette were beaten into them before they arrived, letters were not. It would probably be lucky, Mau Mau reflected, if half the girls that got snatched from the countryside turned out to know how to read. It was, one might say, a hazard of the rear palace growing too populous. Quality was being sacrificed for quantity, although it is no way equaled the flower garden of the former emperor. The consorts and ladies in waiting together numbered 2,000 people, while with the eunuchs that number came to 3,000. A vast palace indeed. Mau Mau was a serving girl, a boss so lowly she didn't even have an official rank. What more could she expect as a girl who had no one to back her at court, who have arrived by way of kidnappers to fill out the palace staff? If she had perhaps possessed a body as shapely as a peony, or skin as pale as a full moon, she might have at least aspired to the status of one of the lower concubines. But Mau Mau's possessed only ruddy, freckled skin and limbs with all the elegance of withered branches. I need to just get this job done. Mau Mau picked up the basket with its tag depicting a plum flower and number 17, and trundled off as quickly as she could manage. She wanted to get back to her room before the frowning sky began to weep. The owner of the laundry in the basket was one of the low rank consorts. Her room was rather more lavish than those accorded to the other low consorts. In fact, it was downright ostentatious. The occupant, Mau surmised, must be the daughter of some affluent noble family. When the woman was assigned the palace rank, she was also permitted her own ladies in waiting. A minor consort, however, could have two ladies at most, which was why Mau, a serving girl with no mistress of her own which to attend, was carting around the woman's laundry like this. A low consort was permitted personal rooms in the rear palace precinct, but they were inevitably on the fringes of the grounds, where the imperial eye was unlikely over to fall upon her. If she should nonetheless be graced with a night with his majesty, she would be granted new rooms, while a second such night meant she had truly found a place in the world. As for those who ultimately never exist, excited the emperor's interest after a certain age, a consort, assuming her family didn't wield particular influence, could expect to see herself demoted or even granted as a wife to some member of the bureaucracy. Whether that was a blessing or a curse depended on whom she was granted to, but the fate the woman feared most was being bestowed upon one of the eunuchs. Mau Mau knocked discreetly on the door. A lady in waiting opened it and snapped, "Just leave it there." Within the consort redolent of the sweetest perfume was sipping some alcohol from a cup. She must have been admired for her beauty in those halcyon days before she had arrived at the palace. But when she got there, here, she discovered she had known as much about the outside world as a frog who had spent its life in a well, crowded out by the array of dazzling flowers in this garden. She had lost her will to continue fighting for a palace here, and of late had ceased to come out of her room at all. You know, where am I? Did I jump? Oh my god, where did I jump? Where am I? Ceased to come out of her room at all. Mm. You, you know one. Sorry about that. You know no one is going to come visit you in your own room, right? Mau Mau traded the basket in her arms for the one sitting outside the door and went back to the laundry area. There was so much work to do. Still, she may not have come to the palace of her own volition, but they were all least paying her, and she intended to earn her keep. Momo, the apothecary, was delighted minded. If nothing else, if she kept her head down and did her job, she could hope to leave this palace some day. If never, she assumed to gain royal notice. Sadly, Mau Mau's thinking was, let us say, naive. She didn't know what was going to happen. No one does. That's the nature of life. Mau Mau was relatively objective thinker for a girl of 17, but she had a few qualities that continually dogged her. For one, curiosity, and for another, a hunger, a hunger, a hunger for knowledge. And then there was her budding sense of justice. A few days hence, Mama would uncover a mysterious and terrible truth concerning the deaths of several infants in the rear palace. Some said it was a cure laid upon any concubine who dared to produce an heir, but Mau refused to regard the matter as anything supernatural. Go to chapter 2. Huh? Let's see. Out of 231 classmates. Huh? So it's true. It is, she said. She saw the doctor go into the rooms with her own eyes. Mau sipped her soup and listened. Hundreds of serving girls were having their breakfast in the vast dining room. The meal consisted of soup and the porridge of mixed grain. She was listening to two women diagonally across from her as they traded gossip. The woman took pains to look chagrined about the story, but it was an unseemly curiosity that lit their eyes. He visited both Lady Gyukoyo and Lady Liwang. Gracious, both of them? But they were only 6 months and 3 months ahead. And 3 months, aren't they? That's right, maybe it really is a corpse. This was the image. See for yourself. The gossip buddies. So next. The names were those of the emperor's two favorite consorts. 6 months and 3 months were the ages of the lady's children. Rumors were rife in the palace. Some of them sprang from contempt for his majesty's companions and the heirs they bore him, but others had more the savor of simple ghost stories. The sorts of tale told during the summer, very good baby, doldrums to beat the heat by chilling the blood. It must be. Otherwise, why would three separate children have died? All of the offspring in question have been born to consorts. That is to say, they could in principle have been heirs to the throne. One of the poor victims have been born to his majesties before his accession, while he still lived in the eastern palace, and two more since he had assumed the throne, but all three had passed away in infancy. Mortality was common among infants, of course, but that three of the emperor's own progeny should die so young was strange. Only two children, those of the consorts Gyukuyu and Liwa, still survived. Poisoning? Perhaps? Momo mused, sipping her porridge. But she concluded it couldn't be. After all, two of the three dead children had been girls. And in the land where only men could inherit the throne, what reason was there to murder princesses? The women across from Mao were so busy talking about curses and hexes that they had stopped eating entirely. But there's no such thing as curses, Mao thought. It was stupid. That was the only word for it. How could you destroy an entire clan with one curse? Such questions bird, bordered on the heretical, but Momo's expertise, she felt, constituted proof of this pronouncement. Could have been some kind of sickness? Something bloodborne, maybe? How exactly did they die? And that was when the detached, quiet maid began talking to her chatty dining companions. It would not be long before Mama regretted succumbing to her curiosity. I don't know the whole story, but I heard they all wasted away, apparently inspired by Mama's show of interest. Shaolan, the talkative maid, thereafter regularly brought her the latest rumors. The doctor's been to see Lady Liua more often than Lady Guguyu. So I guess Lady Liua must be worst. She wiped at the window frame with the rag as she spoke. Lady Liua herself? Yes, it's mother and child both. Mau supposed the doctor paid closer attention to Lady Liwa, not necessarily because she was more sick, but because her child was a little prince. Consort Gyukuyu had born a princess. The imperial affection fell more upon Gyukuyu, but when the child one was a boy and the other a girl, which one should receive preferential treatment as was clear. Like I said, I don't know everything, but I've heard she had headaches and stomach aches, and even some nausea. Satisfied that she had divulged all her newest gleanings, Shaolan busied herself with another task. By way of thanks, Mau gave her some tea flavored with licorice. She'd make it with some herb that grew in a corner of the central garden. It smelled strongly medicinal, but was in fact quite sweet. Shaolan was thrilled serving girls had all too few opportunities to enjoy sweet things. Headache, stomach, and nausea. Mao had some ideas as to what illness this might portend, but she couldn't be sure, and her father had never tried of admonishing her not to do her thinking based on assumptions. Maybe I'll just pay her a little visit. Mama was determined to finish her work as quickly as possible. The rear palace was in fact a vast palace, housing more than 2,000 women and 500 eunuchs. On the premises, lowly workers like Mau slept 10 to a room, but lower rank consort had their own chambers. Mid-ranking ones had whole buildings to themselves, and the highest ranking consort virtually had their own palaces. Sprawling complexes including dining halls and gardens, large enough to dwarf a small town. Thus, Mau rarely left the eastern quarter where she lived. There was no need. She had neither the time nor the means to leave unless she was sent on some errand. Well, if I don't have an errand, I'll just have to make one. Momo spoke to a woman holding a basket. This basket contained fine silk that would have to be washed over in the laundry area in the western quarter. No one seemed to know whether there was something different about the water there, or perhaps about the people who did the washing, but apparently the silk would soon be ruined if handled here in the eastern quarter. Mau understood that the silk degraded more or less depending on whether it was dried out in the sun or kept in the shade, but she felt no particular need to tell anybody that. I'm just dying to get a look at that gorgeous eunuch they say lives in the central area, Mau Mau said, invoking one of the other rulers. Shaolan had mentioned in passing, and the woman gladly gave her the basket. Chances for anything resembling romance were few and far between in this palace, so that even the eunuchs, men who were not really men, soon become something to swoon over. Stories were even told from time to time of women who became the wives of eunuchs after they left palace service. Presumably, this was all healthier than the woman lusting after each other instead, but still it puzzled Momo. Wonder if I'll end up like everyone else one day, she thought to herself. She crossed her arms and grunted. Romantic matters held scant interest for her. She delivered the basket of laundry as quickly as she could, and then a red lacquered building of the central area came into view. Carvings were everywhere, every pillar like a work of art unto itself. Each detail had been attended to, so that the whole was far more refined than anything on the fringes of the eastern quarter. At present, the largest quarter in the rear palace were occupied by Consort Liwa, the mother of the prince. The emperor was without an empress proper, which made Liwa the only one of his women with a son, the most powerful person here. The scene Mau discovered looked almost as if it could have come from the city itself. One woman fulminated, one hung her head in gloom, while others fussed and fretted, and the man tried to make peace among them all. It's hard. The upset woman was the most powerful person in the rear palace. The one hanging her head, the next most powerful, and the fussy woman were attendants. The man, no doubt a man, no longer at this point, interceding was the doctor. So much Mama gathered from the whispering she heard and the general state of things around her. That first woman would have to be Consort Liwa, mother of the imperial prince, and the second woman would be Consort Gyukuyu blessed, though not quite so blessed as Liwa with a daughter. As for the eunuch doctor, Mau knew nothing about him, but she had heard that in this whole great palace there was only one person who could truly be called a practitioner of medicine. This is your doing just because you had a girl? You got it into your head to curse my prince to death. A beautiful face distorted by anger is a frightful thing. Eyes as furious as a demon's, set in a face as pale as a ghost, were turned upon a beautiful Gyukoyu, who held a hand to her cheek. There was a red mark under her fingers. She had, Momo surmised, been slapped with an open hand. That isn't true, and you know it. My Shaoling is suffering just as much as your son. The second woman had red hair, referring to the young Princess Lingbi by an affectionate nickname. Consort Gyukuyu's look suggested no small amount of Western blood in her veins. Now, she raised her head and glared at the doctor. And that is why I request that you do not neglect to attend my daughters as well. It seemed the doctor himself was the reason intercession had been needed between the two women. He had been spending all his time looking in here at the young prince, and Gyukuyu was appealing in her daughter's behalf. One sympathized with her, but this was the rear palace, and male children were more prized than female ones. The doctor, for his part, looked caught between trying to make an excuse and total speechlessness. What a knob. That sawbones, Momo thought. To fail to notice with the two concerts right in front of him, how could he not have figured it out already anyway? The dead infants, the headaches, the stomach pains, the nausea, to say nothing of Consort Leo's ghostly pallor and frail appearance. Muttering to herself, Mau put the raucous scenes behind her. I need something to write on, she thought. She was so busy thinking it, in fact, that she didn't even notice the person passing by. Chapter 3, Jinshi. They're at it again, Jinsi muttered glumly to himself. It was unseemly the way the blossoms of the palace carried on sometimes. It fell to Jinsey, one among his many responsibilities, to quiet things down as he waded into the crowd. Jinsey saw one person walking along as if the uproar didn't concern her. She was a petite girl with freckles peppering her nose and cheeks. There was nothing else distinctive about her except that she paid no heed at all to Jinshi as she walked along muttering to herself. And that could well have been the end of it. It was not quite a month later that word spread the young prince had died. Consort Liwa was consumed with weeping and was thinner now than ever. She no longer looked anything like the woman who had once been considered the blooming rose of the court. Perhaps she suffered from the same illness as her son, or perhaps it was an affliction of the spirit that blighted her. Regardless, she could hardly hope for another child in such condition. Princess Lingli, eh, can I see? Saan mo sinulat? Saan mo nasulat, baby? Wow, ang galing ng baby ko ah.
Oh, so ugly.
No, you can make it beautiful because you're still learning how to write. You can do it, baby. Okay, back to this. Princess Lingli, the half sister of the deceased prince, soon recovered from her indisposition, and she and her mother became a great comfort to the
Mommy,
bereaved emperor. Okay,
can you help me?
I later, baby.
Can you help me? I'm gonna make it ugly.
Okay, it's okay. Where am I? Indeed, it seemed likely Consort Yukio might soon bear another child given how often his majesty visited.
Jody. Look, I draw it.
Mm-mm.
D. I cannot draw the D, mommy.
It's just like this. It's like little circle. And circle mo na, and then get up. It's like a D. Okay, mamaya na.
Mommy, it's like L.
Ah, nawala na ako.
It's like L.
Okay. The prince and princesses had both suffered from the same
Mommy,
mysterious
how about the
illness,
eye?
yet one had recovered while the other had succumbed. Could it be the age gap between them? It had been just 3 months, but such a span could make a significant difference in an infant resilience. And what of Liwa? If the princess had made recovery, then there was every reason the consort should be able to as well, unless she was suffering chiefly from the psychological shock of losing her son.